Hello there, folks. I'm no artist, as you can no doubt judge by my quick scribble here. Trying to represent an idea, okay, in a symbolic form, which could possibly transmit, to make things a little clearer to some people. Okay, the two drawings, okay, in my understanding of things in my mind, represent at the top, okay, very childish, I know, drawing, but that would represent the constitutional republic, whereas this here in fact represents what we call democracy. If you look at the bottom, what you have basically is the people who are used to keep the higher level of society in that nice condition. But the higher level then supports the bureaucratic level, and at the top we have the locomotive, which is the corporation, the machine, and sitting here travelling along we have the Queen, if you're looking at England. And we have to remember that the democracy is pretty much based on the English ideology. King George III didn't lose, he just took a little bit of time to get around there. And okay, we could see those the Rockefellers or whoever else, you know, those nice little fat cats sitting there, and they're enjoying the ride, sitting on top of the machine, the locomotive. Which does seem a bit absurd that we have a locomotive and society is carrying that locomotive. Think of it as an engine. Whereas what would be more sensible is the fact that the locomotive, the corporation, the machine, is used to carry humanity. Okay, so it's a very simplistic drawing. It does need expansion, but that's the basic idea. I mean, that's what we're living in. We are unfortunately fooled by this term democracy. Okay, we think that we are living in a democracy and we are free and we have the rights. But if you look at the income tax situation, income tax, which is an absurdity in itself, that people are taxed on their being and the fact that they have to live and work in the society. Corporate tax is fundamentally correct. Okay, the corporation serves society. Okay, and that's what makes things go. But if you take a person who works for a company and they have their net, okay, which they receive after they've had their gross, okay, the tax and the other deductions are taken, their net, so they're thinking in net anyway, so tax doesn't really come into this. But they've already been taxed, okay, then they've got their net, then they go out and they spend this money. Okay, now if they spend this money on another person, services, okay, and that person then pays tax on their earning from their service that they provided for the first person. So person A has earned their money, paid tax, okay, and let's say they have a banknote. That banknote has been taxed. They use that banknote to pay for somebody else's services, okay, and again that second person has to pay tax on the same banknote. Okay, and this could follow all the way down the line until finally they go to the shops and they spend that banknote, which is getting smaller every time, in the shop, and again they're paying tax. So many people are being taxed, but it's one quantity of money that is constantly being taxed until it's recycled. Okay, which is an absurdity. Okay, because you're not taxing one time one earning. You're taxing that earning as it goes through the system, so it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So the actual value that the society receives, so the people in the society, is very low. All of it is eaten up somewhere along the line in the way of taxes. Now, people will say, but you have to pay tax. The society needs funding, but we've got to understand very clearly what is going on with the society. The corporate machine should be, ideally, the thing that keeps society going. It should be at the bottom. It should be the locomotive that we're sitting on and is carrying us along. But instead, as I put in my very childish drawing here, what's happening is the majority of people are carrying the locomotive. Okay? And only a few people are sitting on top enjoying the benefits of the locomotive. So it's a very disorganized system, what we call democracy. And that brings me to America. Okay, now a lot of Americans feel that the rest of the world hates them and they're anti-American. And to some extent I could have been considered that. I could be considered anti-American, but I'm not. Because I tell you what, I have a lot of respect and admiration for the American Constitution in its original form and its ideology. It's just that it's not being practiced. And who should be practicing it are the people who are complaining about being called terrible things by other people, and they are saying that other people are anti-American. But what is being American? You have this idea of your Constitution, but it doesn't exist. So in reality, by not defending and not demanding your locomotive, the corporate structure which supports your society, you're being anti-American yourselves. If you want to be truly American as Americans, then don't take a British system, okay? And for the rest of the world, we need really to support that ideology, okay, of a fair society where the corporation is that locomotive that brings humanity forward. Sorry, bit of a cold. Not the system where humanity is walking on top of humanity, carrying other humanity, which is finally carrying the locomotive to give the nice little ride to the few. It's an absurdity. It's unfair and unjust. Now, I tried to explain this to someone before, and I was called a leftist, socialist, liberal. Is America set on leftist, socialist, liberal ideologies? And this play with words again. I mean, you've got to remember that socialist, national socialist, these are quite new ideologies. And you've got to look into the history of socialism and national socialism and to see where they're connected and what organizations they're connected with. And people will talk about the Masons, but you're going to find that socialism and national socialism originally came from a particular branch, okay? And that particular branch, ironically, don't practice what you consider socialism. In fact, what America is controlled by those so-called socialists, either national or global. It's an illusion. Just think about it, please. Just give it some thought. Okay, hate me as much as you will, but really, if you spend time considering this, you will see that there is some point here.